You're listening to the Really Useful Podcast. This is the tech podcast for technophobes from makeuseof.com. Welcome to the show. My name is Christian Colley. I'm joined this week by Gavin Phillips. Hi, Gavin. How are you?
I'm very well, Christian. Yeah, the sun's shining here in Cornwall. It's about 2 degrees, but it's a beautiful day.
A sunny, freezing cold day. I love
Yeah.
that. Oh, it's nice and crisp, is it?
Yeah, it's beautiful. It is very, very beautiful. The sun is doing its best job. How about yourself, Christian? How are you?
Yeah, not bad. I've just been reliving events of a couple of weeks ago and published a blog post on my personal website concerning my trip to see Weird Al Yankovic's return of the ill-advised self-indulgent vanity tour or something like that. I can't remember what it's called now. So I just made a little blog post about that and reliving a happy trip out with my eldest a couple of weeks ago. We didn't get home till about 1:15. It was quite a jaunt.
Partying.
Yeah. The unfortunate return of the ridiculously self-indulgent, ill-advised vanity tour is the full title of the tour. But there you go. Yeah. So you can. I'll if anyone's interested, I'll stick a link in the show notes to that. A couple of photos and a bit of video at the end of the main bit of the show. We're here not to talk about Weird Al Yankovic or tours or trips to Manchester or the weather. Even we are here to talk about the latest tech news that matters to you, how events in the tech world will affect you, and then we've got some tips and tricks later in the show, and we will close with at least one recommendation. We will kick off, Gavin, with news. I've forgotten how silly this is. A federal judge has ruled that emojis count as financial advice.
It's bonkers, isn't it? So this is the news that now, if people post tweets with certain emojis, specifically the rocket, the chart with an upward trend line, and the money bag, the money bag with a dollar symbol on.
Yeah.
It counts now as financial advice, which is bonkers in all sorts of ways, but just in that you could accidentally tweet one of these things alongside an innocuous bit of advice to someone else, and suddenly you're a financial advisor.
Yeah. It's crazy. I mean, they're glyphs, aren't they? So we're essentially saying we're giving additional meaning to very basic symbols. It's crackers. It's absolutely crackers. I mean, you reported on this. You must have had a bit of an old chuckle writing this.
I did, in as much as when I was reading it, I couldn't quite believe what I was reading.
Yeah.
But the reasoning behind it, weirdly enough, kind of does make sense, though. So they're saying that when it's a specific like a crypto product, right? And so this has all come about because Dapper Labs, a company who make an NFT product called NBA Top Shot Moments, one of the most popular NFT things. Whenever they tweet out something relating to like their previous week's sales or the previous month's sales, they stick a load of these emojis alongside it. And so the judge is saying, when you do that, you are implicitly saying that you will get a financial return on this investment. So the logic behind it isn't, in my opinion, actually that bad. It's just the reality of what it now means going forwards from that, in that if you do it, you could actually end up in like legal hot water, which is just crazy. Like, it's an emoji,
Yeah. That is... who knew emojis had so much power, though?
Well, absolutely. And people were saying as well, like, so what if you talked about something medical and put a syringe at the end of it, then you're implicitly for or against vaccines or something like that. They're extrapolating into increasingly silly ideas about what it could mean. But some of them weren't actually so silly. And it's like, well, if emojis are going to relate to financial investment, why aren't these things then going to relate back to their core subjects and put some legal onus on the people tweeting about those? Like, why would it be solely restricted just to finance and crypto. So it's I think it's opening up a bit of a can of worms that the judge maybe hasn't fully thought through here.
Oh, I can't believe that for a moment.
Yeah.
Let's move on. Spotify is partnering with NFT projects to test NFT locked curated playlists. This is, I mean, I'm feeling slightly depressed about this. Not that we're back on the topic of NFTs, but that Spotify would do this, really. So it's joining the Web3 ranks with the revelation that Spotify is testing something called token-enabled playlists, which allow holders of specific NFTs to access unique curated playlists on the service. I'm going to be honest, it sounds like a lot of effort for a very niche interest.
I totally agree. It's probably the setup for some bigger things to come. And it's not the first time Spotify have trialed NFTs on Spotify. They did a thing at the end of 2022 where they allowed certain creators and artists to sell NFTs direct from their platform. It didn't last for that long, but it was sort of an indication that they're definitely interested in the Web3 / NFT space. These playlists are a bit odd in the sense as well that although it's being branded as something exclusive, it's not exclusive music. It's just a playlist that once someone's seen it, they could feasibly just copy it and make their own version of it.
Yeah.
Well,
that's
as
strange
an
about
NFT.
NFTs, isn't it?
But it shows like some use for NFTs outside of just trading them, like locked content unless you have the ticket to come in. I don't know if Spotify's the best place to trial this sort of stuff, for the exact reason we've just mentioned there. And like you said, it's incredibly niche. It really, really is. Like, I as someone who's genuinely interested in this space, like I'd not heard of some of these projects, and these are some of the ones that have been chosen. So,
there's plenty in the linked article which you'll find in the show notes, which explains exactly what's going on here, and it'll help break things down again. But basically, if you want to use a NFT locked playlist, then you need a Web3 wallet, which just seems pointlessly restrictive to me. But
yeah, if the companies were organising actually unique music to be put onto Spotify, or say they were using like one of the AI music creation tools or something like that to create a fully unique audio experience that was built into Spotify, that could be genuinely quite interesting. That would make it worthwhile going out and getting this NFT that lets you into it, because it would be something genuinely special and interesting. But if you're just having to buy this so that you can listen to a playlist that already has Missy Elliott and Led Zeppelin on, then you could go and do that regardless, and you don't need to own an NFT to do that.
I'm only listening to half of that playlist. Activision Blizzard has confirmed a data breach in which data on employees and games was stolen. Now, this doesn't have too great an impact on usability, but even so, you kind of want your big gaming companies to be pretty tight. The breach came as a result of an SMS phishing scheme that allowed an attacker to infiltrate the company's Slack channel through a single employee account. This occurred on December the 4th, 2022, just a few weeks ago. Speaking to Insider Gaming, the author Tom Henderson wrote that the data obtained contains plans for Modern Warfare 2's upcoming DLCs, Call of Duty 2023, which is codenamed Jupiter, and Call of Duty 2024, codenamed Cerberus, as well as sensitive employee information. So it's employee data that has been lost here, not user, not gamer data. But even so, you don't want your employer to be getting hacked, especially when they're about to be merging with Microsoft.
Yes, so as they are about to be, or the deal is certainly under a lot of scrutiny at the moment, for whether the 60 billion deal, 60 billion, 70 billion, I can't remember, but it's definitely a way up there, isn't it? It's not a good look at all, is it? Your employees have been phished. They've lost data. I mean, everybody can fall victim to a phishing scheme. It's, you shouldn't blame the victims in these cases. But you do have to think they should have more stringent security procedures in place. I mean, that's all there is to it, really, isn't it?
Yeah. What do you? I think we talked about this a few months ago. How are you feeling about this merger buyout?
Oh, I'm not keen on it at all. I don't
No.
think the ever-growing solidification of gaming developers under effectively three roofs, is good for the business at all.
No.
It's only going to streamline stuff and compress stuff, and we've already seen like when companies like EA buy out what is once a beloved gaming franchise, they only go on to ruin it. I don't think Microsoft has been quite as bad as that, but they definitely have a strong track record of taking on franchises and then just binning them off when they realise they can't do anything with them. And Activision has, got quite a lot of games under its roof, and you can only imagine that as part of cost saving after a $70 or $60 billion deal, people are going to lose their jobs, and we will never see some of these games again, which is just useless.
Yeah. I'm baffled at how much positivity the deal has been getting from certain publications, online and in print. I think it's a really, really bad idea, and I don't think Microsoft might have the Xbox, and obviously it has a big foot in PC gaming, although not as big as it did, thanks to Gabe Newell. But I just think it's such a bad idea, and I can't believe why. I can't believe when I open certain websites that I feel should know better. I'm talking industry giants here that have been publishing materials and articles and investigative journalism into the tech industry for years now, and they're just like waving this through with very little scrutiny. I just can't believe my eyes. I really can't. I think it's a bad idea for most of the reasons that Gavin's already stated, and at the very least, this deal should get very, very heavy scrutiny, not just from the press, but also from the various financial institutions, monopoly and mergers commissions around the world or the affected territories. Now, we've talked about cryptocurrency vaguely already in terms of NFTs purposes, but there's also a thing called digital currency, and it's not the same thing as cryptocurrency, is it?
No, so you could say most likely that cryptocurrency is a type of digital currency, because it does exist completely digitally. It's only on computers. It's all online. It exists on a blockchain, which again is a digital database, for want of a better word. And every transaction you make using a cryptocurrency is recorded on a blockchain, and they're kind of one and the same in many ways, but the key difference is between cryptocurrency and digital currency is that digital currency can, and more often, refers to your regular bank account. So when you make a payment online, or if you move funds from a bank account to another account, that's really is digital currency in the sense that no money is physically moving, is it? It's not like when you transfer the money, one bank sends over a £20 note or a $20 bill in the post. It's just a transfer of digital numbers on a screen, and the transfer is done. So digital money covers basically the whole gamut of anything digital currency wise, whereas cryptocurrency very much specifically refers to those that exist on a blockchain, and more often than not using a decentralized structure where there are many computers around the world all connected together, ensuring that the information on the blockchain, on that database, is correct and correct between all the computers, so they form a consensus about what the blockchain should look like, and what's in people's accounts, and the transactions that are going on.
Physical currency scarcely exists in comparison to the actual currencies, the actual digital currencies that exist in people's bank accounts and companies' bank accounts and banks' accounts, does it? There's very little actual physical currency in comparison.
Yeah. If you mean, do you mean the fractional reserve type
Uh,
stuff where they only have to have, was it a tenth or a seventh?
it's something like that, yeah. I mean, it's stated in the article that 92 to 93% of the world's currency is already in digital form. But I don't think that's actually saying what I'm just saying, is it? I am actually saying that the actual physical currency is very small in comparison to actual what numbers in bank accounts, which, as you say, is fractional reserve, yeah. Which once
Yeah,
you get your
definitely.
head around that, things start to change, don't they?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think there was the thing that if they had, if there was physical money for all of the money, inverted commas here, brackets, quote marks, we would need banks that were like 10 times bigger because their vaults would have to be colossal.
Yeah.
And you think of all the bank accounts and the amount of money in the world, if it was all in physical form, it would just be bonkers. But you
Scrooge
also see as
McDuck.
well. Yeah, oh yeah, diving into that pile of coins.
Yeah, yeah.
Which I always wondered why that didn't break
Knock him
I
out.
know it was a
Yeah.
cartoon, but
It was all fake money. It was all a sham.
it was a sham. He was diving into a pile of NFTs. It's quite interesting though because they do have similarities. Obviously, they are both digital. You use them online. You can use them through apps, digital currencies, and cryptocurrencies. One of the biggest differences, of course, is that cryptocurrencies aren't run and owned by banks and central banks and governments, at least not for the time being.
Yeah.
And so your digital bank account that's owned by a bank could be, effectively switched off at any moment. Whereas your cryptocurrency account, I mean, people like to say it couldn't be switched off at a moment, but it technically could as well if, we lost massive amounts of power across the entire world. But then your digital account would go with that anyway. So all in all, I think it's best that everyone just buys gold.
Or silver.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, other precious metals are available.
Absolutely. Okay, we'll move on. One of the best things I have bought in years was the Steam Deck. It's a handheld gaming PC, a handheld gaming laptop, if you like. A little bit bigger than a Nintendo Switch, a little bit bulkier. The controllers don't come off, but it plays PC games. I've been enjoying the 2018 Spider-Man game from the PlayStation 4, which was released on Steam recently. I can play it anywhere. It's amazing. And one of the great benefits of this is that I got a Steam Deck dock to plug it into the TV. So I just dock it, plug the USB cable into it, and you're away playing through the TV. Someone wants to watch TV, you unplug it, and off you go. Now, that's not the only reason why you should get a Steam Deck dock. If you have a Steam Deck, you need a Steam Deck dock, basically. There are some third-party docks. I would not trust them. I had one. It didn't work out well. I got rid of it, got the refund through Amazon, got the official dock. It's brilliant. Number one, you can enjoy big screen PC gaming just by connecting it to the dock. The dock itself has it has a HDMI out, it has a display port out, it has a Ethernet cable port, it has three USB ports as well, and the USB-C power cable. So you get faster downloads in most cases because you've got your Ethernet cable plugged in. You can play while the device is charging, which is good because for hardcore PC games, you're probably only going to get a couple of hours charge. Lower requirement games, maybe retro games or older PC games, they'll last. The battery will last longer with those. Now you can also use the Steam Deck like a PC. It has a desktop mode. It's running Arch Linux underneath the Steam user interface. The Steam OS operating system is based on Arch Linux, so you can install word processing software. There's a web browser pre-installed. You can do all sorts with that. If you're using the dock, strategy games are easier with mouse and keyboard and a big display. So, if you want to play Civilization or something like that, then that's the way to do it on the Steam Deck. installing third-party game launchers like the Heroic Games launcher, which will let you install games from the GOG, Good Old Games Library, or Epic Games. That's much easier if you're using a mouse and keyboard, which is better done through the dock. You get USB controller support. So as mentioned, USB ports, there are 3 USB 3.1 ports. And this will let you control any USB control, but you can also install additional storage through those USB ports. And ultimately, if you've got a Steam Deck, you need to get a Steam Deck dock. You don't have a Steam Deck yet, do you? Would you be interested in a dock if you got the deck?
I think I definitely would. Yeah, it seems like one of those essential features that massively expands what you can do with an already great product. So why wouldn't you just go the extra way?
Yeah.
How does it compare to the Switch dock? Is it quite similar?
No, it's a little different because obviously with the Switch, you've got the USB-C port on the bottom of the Switch. So when you dock it, you're literally docking it into that USB port, aren't you? Whereas with the Steam Deck dock, it's more of a stand with a cable coming out the back that you then plug into the USB-C port, which is on the top of the Steam Deck.
That's quite interesting then, because I can see in the images in the article you've written on this, Christian, that it's got quite an array of ports on the back of it as well, hasn't it? Yeah,
it does. So there's quite a lot going on there. So the one in the middle, you can see that's the USB-C port that powers the dock, and then the if you're looking at the first image under number 1, Enjoy Big Screen PC Gaming, and then the cable you can see on the left, that is the cable that's essentially docking the Steam Deck. So that's the data cable there.
So then there's a display port, a gigabit Ethernet port, I guess that is.
Yep,
and
it
a
is.
few USB ports. So that's a really good array of additional ports, isn't it?
It is. Now some of the replica Steam Deck docks have all of those, and in a couple of cases, I think there's 1 or 2 more in some cases. But once bitten, twice shy. I think I've spent quite a bit of cash on a third-party Steam Deck dock, and it lasted maybe 2 weeks before HDMI stopped working.
Oh, well, that's not good.
No, that's not good at all. And that was from like the big name provider of third-party Steam Deck equipment. So I thought, skip that, stick with the Valve product, and I've been happy with it. So that's that Steam Deck dock. I mean, that's almost a recommendation, I suppose. Maybe we'll put that in for recommendations. Do you know what? One of the most vital things in my mind, one of the greatest labor-saving devices ever created for the household, is the dishwasher. It's a fantastic piece of kit. We don't have one in our house because we made a decision many years ago, before we had children, that we didn't need one. There was only 2 of us. It's pointless having a dishwasher because they're quite they have a kind of an ecological impact with detergents and extra heating and all that sort of thing. You just wash up once a day when there's 2 of you. Of course, when there's 5 of you, it's a bit different. But we haven't managed to get a dishwasher yet. But what we do have is a robot vacuum cleaner. And I've mentioned this before. The robot vacuum cleaner is the other great labour-saving device that's available for not much money. I mean, you can get a basic one for about $200 and even less when the sales are on. If you're going to spend more than that, then you're going to get better features. But the most important thing is that you do have to look after your robot vacuum cleaner. If you just sort of plug it in, then program it to go around every week or whatever, if you don't look after it, it's not going to last very long. I've been looking into this recently, and I've established 10 tips that will help you to prolong your robot vacuum cleaner's lifespan. I'm going to go through them in quite a quick manner, and then Gavin and I will have a little chat about them afterwards. So number 1, you need to clean the RoboVac's body, so it looks nice and it's not taking dust around the house. You need to give the RoboVac sensors a clean as well whilst you're doing that. They're situated around the RoboVac, and they help it find its way around. You need to clean or replace the robot vacuum cleaner's brushes. That's really important. You also need to clean and replace the dust filter. Replacements for these can be bought kind of relatively cheaply online. You can get like a whole box full of replacement parts. Similarly, you need to clean and replace the mop if your robot vac does mopping, and you also need to clean in and around the charging station, and if that has a bin, around that as well. You need to empty the internal bin regularly and clean it. You also need to upgrade the firmware and app on your mobile device. And you probably shouldn't leave it unattended upstairs, because especially if it's a cheaper model, they're not that great at detecting where the cliff edge is at the top of the stairs. And finally, you really should, and bear with me with this, tidy up before you run your robot vacuum cleaner. Just as you might if you had a cleaner coming round. My mum does that. So that's the 10 tips.
In my house, at least, the amount of sort of Lego and small toys that end up all over the place would make 10. I mean, we would have to do tidying up before the vacuum would work, or else it would stop every few minutes because it was choking on a small Lego person.
Yeah, I know the feeling. I regularly run around the house picking things up the floor before the robot vac goes anywhere beyond the kitchen. The kitchen's usually okay. You can just go in the kitchen, clean up. It's probably the most important place to get hoovered regularly as well. The rest of the house, you need to run around and pick everything up off the floor. It is a bit of a pain, but it does such a good job of hoovering stuff up that it's kind of worth it, really.
There's a difference between doing it on like wooden or tile floors and carpet floors. So we have wooden floors throughout our whole house. So we tend to just brush it down with a regular dustpan and brush and what have you, and give it a hoover every now and then to get into the edges and whatnot. But the thing I've always thought about the RoboVacs is they can't really get into the corners fully properly, can they? Or is that why they have the extra bits on the edge?
That is why they have a sort of a brush on the side. One of the reasons they have a brush on the side. But no, you're absolutely right. So, especially the round ones, they're not great at getting into corners at all. We fortunately don't have too many corners, but it's those internal corners. It's, external corners, they're okay because you can go around the corner. The internal corners are a little bit trickier. Fortunately, we don't have too many of those.
Because you can also get, because we were talking about circular ones here, aren't we? But you can get ones that have a flatter, more rectangular front to them, can't you?
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
Get further into those hard-to-reach corners.
To be honest with you, they seem like a very sensible option. I'm surprised that they haven't become more popular. I wonder if it's something to do with mapping and automation and navigating around a map. Whether those having a square one, you're adding corners to your device, aren't you? Essentially, as well as it getting into corners, it also then has its own corners that it then needs to get around other corners and other objects. And maybe it's easier to navigate a disc than it is to navigate a square around things.
Yeah, I could imagine that. You're more likely to get caught on a door frame or whatever and get snarled up.
Exactly, yeah. So that's RoboVac tips. If you have a RoboVac, look after it. It will last much longer. A couple of weeks ago, we did a show almost entirely about AI and ChatGPT. And hello if you joined us via that show. It turned out to be quite a popular edition of the Really Useful podcast. And we have another bit of a chat about AI now. A lot of people have been concerned about jobs and if AI can put a job at risk. Will AI take over your job? Well, there are 7 jobs we've listed that are most at risk from AI. Although, I mean, they're perceived to be at risk from AI, but personally, I think maybe if there is a risk, there may be only short-term risks before things rebalance themselves. But maybe we'll talk about that in a little while. So I'm going to go through the list. Number 1, graphic designing. Number 2, writing, editing, and proofreading. Maybe it's just wishful thinking that I said that last thing. Number 3, accounts and bookkeeping. Number 4, consultancy, which is a very big catch-all. Number 5, social media managing. I mean, I can't believe that's even a job, but anyway. Number 6, research analysis. And number 7, telemarketing. Some would say that it's already happened. So, Gavin, what do you think? Are these jobs at risk? Are they at risk long-term?
I think some of them have a higher risk than others. People are always going to go for human graphic design, in my opinion. People will use AI graphic design in a pinch, but if you want a bit more flavour and personality, I think you would still go and hire someone to do your graphic design. That said, if you're throwing up a website, say, and you want it done quickly, fast and cheap, you would now definitely choose an AI powered tool to save money in the long run. But in that specific example as well, we've also had like WordPress themes and similar things to that for, I would say well over a decade at this point, haven't we?
Yeah,
2 decades?
yeah.
We're looking at a long time where people have willingly given free designs and free artwork and all this sort of stuff to people to use. It's just now that people can effectively cut out the middleman and just go to an AI tool and do it themselves. The other one I would probably pick hairs with the most is the consultancy one. That one, as you said, is so broad and so vague. We are already using AI to analyze huge amounts of data, identify patterns, and make recommendations, as I'm reading from the article. We already do that. It's not like AI is going to suddenly make the people that analyze this data obsolete, because it still needs people to parse it and talk to other people about it. So it may get significantly better at analyzing the market and market trends and product performance, but it will still come round to a group of people sitting in a boardroom or whatever to talk about it and talk about the implications of the data that the AI has created. Whether we're looking at this on a very much of a too small a time frame, I'm thinking next couple of years. If we think 10 years down the line, yes, all this stuff may come completely true, but that's a different story.
Yeah. I'm not too concerned about some of this. I think with the graphic design, it is a thing that has an advantage for conceptual art. Someone like me who isn't a great artist might use an AI tool to describe, to basically illustrate what they want an actual artist to do. I think that's a good advantage, because quite often, it depends how the AI artist produces the work, but it can be difficult to communicate to an artist exactly what you want. And with an AI tool, that might be a way of getting around it. Then again, you need to know whether or not you're happy with actually, do you really want an actual human artist to do that, or are you more happy with the AI artist? Well, I think that really much depends on what your outcome is and what you're producing. I think there's certain aspects of the artwork, graphic novels and comics, for example, where human artists are very highly regarded. I don't think AI art would survive in that area. So yeah, I think it has uses there. Speaking from a more personal point of view, the issues surrounding writing and editing and proofreading. I mean, so far we've seen AI tools that do all of those things, but none of them do them very well. And I'm not convinced that it's ever going to surpass drafting, to be honest.
No, from what we've seen is more people using these tools for summarization.
Yeah.
But using them in such a way, I'll tread lightly here, but using them in such a way that it takes different inputs and different sources and summarizes them without providing credit to the original source is never going to be okay. And the issue that these sorts of AI writing and editing tools have is that it could reflect poorly on people that use them or publications that allow them to exist on their platforms without duly noting that they are being used and the way, explicitly stating the way that they are being used alongside their writers or for their writers, or as we've seen with some of the big publications, in place of their writers already.
Yeah.
So, and obviously this is a topic quite close to Christian and I's heart. But I agree with you, and I don't think, at least, it pays me to say, at least for now, our jobs are safe.
recommendations time. And as Gavin is very confidently stated he has a recommendation ready, he can go first.
Oh yeah, I totally have a recommendation. And this weekend that we have just had, I played Scrawl, the adult drawing game,
Okay.
which was very, very amusing. We played the digital version of it. So Scrawl is a board game where you draw things on a prompt, and then you pass it to the next person, and they have to guess what your drawing was, and then they give their prompt from that to the next person who has to draw it, and so on and so on. And as you can imagine, it gets pretty silly pretty fast. And I won't get into some of the horrendous drawings that we made, but it definitely helps if you have, I don't know, it helps if you have like a base level of being able to draw, but also, even if you can't, it's absolutely hilarious. There's the board game version of it, but we played the digital version of it, which is really good fun. So you get the website Scrawl up on like a big screen, say in your living room, and then you all sign into it on your smartphone through the website, and it creates a little account for you, but nothing like involving a name or a password or anything. And then you can all do it digitally and pass the things around to each other. And then it goes through at the end and shows all of the drawings that you've done, all of the horrendous guesses that you've made. And then you see like the full process of why one prompt ended up with a ridiculous drawing at the end. And then you choose points and choose winners and stuff. It was very, very good fun.
Ooh, okay, that sounds interesting. We'll give you the link to that in the show notes. I might try it out myself. My own recommendation, I think, well, I did a half a recommendation earlier on. You could take that as a recommendation over the Steam Deck dock, but to be honest with you, the most enjoyable thing I've done in the past 2 weeks is watch Weird Al Yankovic. So I have no choice other than to recommend, if you can, and I know he's on a European tour at the moment and then Australia, go and see The Unfortunate Return of the Ridiculously Self-Indulgent Ill-Advised Vanity Tour. It is not Al's parodies, it is mostly his original songs with probably a few parodies in medley form in the final part of the show, the encore, but it's a really good night. Really enjoyed it. It's worth recommending, I think. So that's it. It's the end of the Really Useful podcast for this week. If we have shared anything that you found useful, or you believe someone that you know will find it useful, pass it on to them and let us know what you think via Twitter or Facebook or on the comments following the podcast on makeuseof.com or on Apple Podcasts. Until next time, it's goodbye from us.